Good morning, everyone. Anne from the Easing Spirit. And I want to talk about cultivating mindfulness in your daily life. Um, I believe, as I've said before on another video, I had a friend of mine that made an observation to me and said that I'm very self-aware. And I didn't used to be self-aware. I used to be a train wreck in life, right? I think all of us have had that point in our life where we've been a train wreck, or maybe we're a train wreck right now and we're trying to fix that. So, cultivating mindfulness. One reason why mindfulness is so very important right now is because in this time everything is ramping up for the world to hit a spiritual awakening. It doesn't mean that necessarily everybody is going to be on board when that happens, right? There are people that aren't going to be, and they're going to be pushed to be, and then there are people who aren't going to be, who are just going to crumble under the pressure. Uh, I believe that mindfulness is very, very important because it is our duty, whether you're on a spiritual journey or not, to be mindful of the things that you do, say, and how you act and react to people. Everything we do has an energy attached to it. Whether it's an energy of love that you're giving to a family member, a spouse, a child, a friend, a loved one, however that looks. Or if it's energy that you're giving in a stressful situation that you're contemplating within yourself, or if it's energy that you're giving while you're exerting your anger, stress, or frustration towards another person or situation. So you're blurting that outward. All of that energy needs to go somewhere. And if it's not dealt with appropriately, if it's anger based energy or a stressful based energy and it doesn't get transmuted back, then that's just more stressful energy out there in the atmosphere. And I believe Mother Earth knows how to heal herself. She knows how to pull energies into her and transmute them and put them back out. But you figure every day, and this is a message that I'm getting right now. This is really funny. This just like totally landed on the spot. It was funny because I asked my higher self and my guides, bring me a topic today that's going to be just not about my spiritual journey, but about something to focus on, right? And this is what they brought me. The mindfulness, how mindfulness is so important. Um, Give me a second. I'm almost losing it. Okay, no, I got it. So, there's more and more people that are born every day on this planet. This planet is now probably the fullest that it's ever been. Although I don't know, because we know there were ancient civilizations that were here before they claimed there were people here. So we don't know, but I'm going with what I'm being told. The Earth is currently holding the the largest amount of people it's ever held. And people are being born every day. Granted, people are passing away, but we're actually, more people are being born than we're losing, at least at this rate. Eventually in time that might change, right? However, the more people that are on this planet and the more energies that are put into the atmosphere of this planet, and we're not living our authentic lives, and we're not trying the best to cultivate ourselves to what's for our greater good and raise our vibrations, those dark energies begin to build. That's how, and darkness happens in places. You have murders that have happened in places. Yeah, places where sickness and stuff, lots of people have died of tuberculosis and pneumonia and different things like that. And yeah, places like Auschwitz where so many people were taken advantage of, and Japanese concentration camps where lots of people died. So you have all of this negative energy. I mean, even places like Alcatraz. I mean, I've watched so many documentaries and so many specials on the hauntings and the negativities in all these different types of places. Gettysburg, different places like that. So this is all dark energy that's culminated. That's what causes hauntings and poltergeists and things like that. This is stagnant, dark energy that comes together and it becomes its own entity. And so when we, as people, continue to ramp up in our numbers on this planet, but darkness continues to happen. I mean, you have people like Ed Gein, who most of the things that he did in his home to people. So that builds energy in that place. And the more dark that's happened on top of the more dark that's happened on top of the more dark that's happened, the larger and larger that entity becomes. And then more darkness is drawn to it, and the larger and larger it becomes. If those things don't get transmuted appropriately, it just grows. My best friend's property, I've been out there a couple of times to do clearings on it, and her property is in an area out in Graham where lots of dark things have happened. There is a show that did a episode on an area out in Graham and the darkness that's out there and all the things that have happened. You can look up lots of different things online. I'm not going to reference anything in particular, just because being a YouTuber now, I want to make sure that I give credit where credit's due, and I don't ever speak on anything that I'm not, I don't know if I can. It's like yesterday when I did a video, it was about a music group. I wasn't sure if, I should bring them out or not. And I mean, maybe I can, maybe I'm overthinking things, but I try to be. But anyway, you can research lots of things that it comes to, the areas that you live in and stuff, and look on public record, because most everything's public record. And you can research where things like that, or even find out where things like that have happened in mass numbers or mass amounts, where that negative energy builds and builds in that place, right? And the mindfulness that we need to carry into our situations every day is exponential, right? Mindfulness ties into your intention, right? Because what your intention is and what you state and what you follow through with is absolutely everything about what your mindfulness is, where you are, right? I had a girl that I did a card share with. We did a reading for each other. This was just a couple of days ago. And I pulled a card and read for her, and she pulled a card and read for me. And what I said to her, she said completely resonated. And what I got from her resonated with me. But she wasn't completely trusting the process and seeing that your intention. She said, well, how do I know for sure the intention is there? And I explained it to her like this. If you have a thought of intention, and that is your intention, and that's what what you intend to do, and you speak that out. It's like when I pulled her card, I closed my eyes, I saw her face, I said her name in my mind, and then I said her name out loud. And it set the intention, and then I said the card I will pull is for, and I said her name again, right? And so the intention was set there. The card wasn't for me. It wasn't for Bob down the street. It wasn't for anybody else. It was for her, right? So then I shuffled the card, cleaned the deck, shuffled it, knocked it, pulled the card for her, and got what I got from it. Sent her the message, sent her the picture of the card, and I explained to her that your intention, you know you've said it when you see it, right? And you know, right? And then you speak it, and then you follow through on it. Once that happens, once that is in motion, it's already set. There's no way around it unless you pull back and say, no, this isn't what I'm going to do right now. I'm not going to pull a card for so-and-so. I changed my mind. Now I want the card to be for me or for somebody else. Then the intention has changed. But if you set it out and you speak it, think it, and you're following through on it, then it's there. There's no way to change that. It's there, right? And so she said to me that she was grateful that I said that to her, because she's had it explained to her in the past, but she said me explaining it in the words that I did made more sense to her. So I felt like, good, I did something, right? I gave her a reading on where she was at then, but I also was able to explain something that opened her up more so she could see better, right? But the mindfulness that we put forth in our life, and you know, I have people in my life that are very reactive. Not too many people. There's one in particular, extremely reactive, and you can see it. It's almost, it's creepy now, because where I am now, I can watch it in real time. So when you have somebody, and I want to explain this in a very calm nature, because the one thing that and this is all about mindfulness, the one thing that you have to realize is that when you're talking on something and you have to explain maybe a dark situation that's happened, you need to be mindful of the energy that you're putting into that explanation, exactly what you're saying when you're explaining it, because that itself can put more dark out there, if that makes sense. You can start to get yourself worked up when you're explaining it. So use my soon-to-be ex-husband, for example. It could be a situation where he's angry about something. It could be a situation that happened at work. It could be while he was out driving. It could be anything, right? It could be that he was angry at me or something happened here at the house. And he has vented himself out, which you can see. Well, it's not, this is different. For me, I don't see, some people see. I see in my mind's eye. It's a little bit different. So it's like I see it in my mind's eye, but I feel it, right? So my best friend, she sees the energy. I feel the energy. And you could almost literally see the blackness just flow off of him, and try to grab and attach to everything, fill the room, and then fill the yard, and then fill the neighborhood. And I mean, it was gross, right? So this is mindfulness at its best. In explaining it, I want you to watch me go through it, because it will make more sense. Okay, so we would get to a point where, if it was a situation here at home, he would apologize. And we would sit down and begin to discuss it. Or it was something that happened at work, or road rage incident or whatever, right? And we would sit down and we would begin to talk about the situation. He would begin to turn into that person again. Raging, spitting when he talks, cussing, raising his voice, getting all animated again. And it would all come back in real time, and I would watch it all over again. So if it was a situation where we had an argument or it wasn't so much an argument, because for the most part of our marriage, anytime that he would flip, I would just pull back and shut down. There were times where I did start to get tired of it, and so I would lash out. But that wasn't for my greater good, and I think innately way down in my cellular level I knew, and so that's why for most of the time I would just remove myself. But I would shake on the inside. Shake on the inside to the point that I felt like I was going to break apart into pieces everywhere. And it happened frequently. If it happened from a situation here at the house, because he was angry about how something didn't go right or didn't flow right, or a bad day at work, or somebody made him angry, or he was out driving and there was a bleep bleepity bleep idiot out there, whatever it was, right? Mindfulness at its best. Let me bring myself in so that my explaining is not putting darkness out there. It would ramp up again. And sometimes, and he would have incidents where his mom or a family member of his would flip his switch. And then, of course, they say, I mean, this is completely inappropriate, but they say we take our stress out on the ones we love, right? We take it out on the people around us, the people that we care about. Which is completely not right. Those are the people that we're supposed to lean on for talking about things and having that support. And absolutely, there are times that people get angry in life, right? You get angry about something hits you just right at that moment and you feel it, right? But I also believe that it's up to us to reel that in and examine it and deal with it in an appropriate way. I'm not ever saying stuff anything. I'm not ever saying don't talk about something. I'm not saying that. And if in talking about it you have to rage to get it out, then you do. Although I believe that then it's your job, especially us as spiritual people, to then begin to transmute and move that energy that you've put out there, right? So there's times that I will be in a situation, I'm going to read something for you guys. It's something that my best friend gave me that I absolutely love. I'll be in a situation where I can feel the energy around me get dense. And I can feel that maybe I have exerted myself in a way that was not mindful, right? And I've put that energy out there. Now it's up to me to pull that energy back. And so for a while I was doing it every morning and every night. Now I read it when I just need it, when I feel it. Because if I'm not putting dark energy out there, and I'm being as mindful as I can, then there's nothing that I need to call back. So the script that I read, or the paper that I read, I have it here on my wall in my office. It states, and I do this in a breathing practice as well, right? So I will usually breathe in deep, let it out, do it again, let it out, and then I will say, I bring my awareness to my 5 bodies: spiritual, cellular, mental, emotional, and physical. And I immediately invite in the highest healing frequencies of the universe. And then I breathe in all that good and out what doesn't serve me. Then I say I command out all excess energies and energies that do not belong to me, and I transmute my stagnant energy into the vibrations of love and oneness. And I breathe in again and out. And then I close it up with, I immediately call my energies back from all people, situations, and outcomes I might have attached to. And I intend to receive that back as healed energy. Breathe in, out. It is immediately done. And any time, and that's the energy. It's clear your energy. It's stating, it's being mindful. I do that when I begin to feel heavy in myself. I begin to feel that the energy that I've put out there is not positive. And I be as mindful as I can as to what I'm giving to the universe, to the area around me, because every time that you exert anger and you exert it comes out of your body. It literally, it's like the energy that you've, and I don't know, I know this is really crazy. I'm going to use this as a reference. So imagine that we lived in a world like the show Charmed. I don't know if people have seen it or not. I know a lot of people have. And maybe I shouldn't even have referenced it. But I'm trying to, I want to make a point here. So this TV show is based on witches. They're three sisters, and they deal with the demonic world, right? And they're for the greater good, and they're supposed to be, saving the innocents and keeping the good, in the world. And when they encounter demons will use what's known as a plasma ball or an energy ball. And they will pull this energy from themselves, pull it into their hands, and then throw it, right? And it, explodes and it blows things up. And I know this is a bit out there, but it's almost like that, right? It's where you don't see it. Most people don't see it. Some of us do see it. Some of us feel it, right? Some of us see it in our mind's eye. But that's basically when you are in anger or whatever, you pull this up, right? And you throw it out. And whatever it hits or however destructive it is, and whether it be in your home or in your place of work, in your vehicle, excuse me, wherever it is that you are putting that out there. Are you transmuting that energy back, or trying to transmute, or trying to actually be? Now, if anger wells up and you don't stuff it, you have to let it out, okay? And then when you let it out, you need to heal and transmute that energy so that it's not dark, right? But it's also up to us to be mindful enough that when we begin, and we all have triggers, there's a trigger, right? And if there's a trigger on something, you need to examine the trigger. And I hope what I talk about here doesn't trigger people, right? In their healing journey, to make them feel less than. Anything that I speak about, if it's a trigger, I apologize. But if it's a trigger, it's absolutely something that you need to work on. So in the situations, if you have a trigger that begins to get you going in a way that, if is going to set you off or get you upset or get you there, the very first thing that you have to do is you need to begin to examine why that's a trigger. And you need to not give it as much power as it has, working that out some way, right? Examining it, thinking about it, breaking it down, asking your higher self, what you can do in those situations to not be triggered by that certain thing, or find out why there's a trigger. Maybe somebody saying a certain word or acting a certain way reminds you of something that your parent did that you didn't have a good relationship, or a teacher did, or an ex did, or whatever, right? So you have to look at those and decide that you want to heal those situations so that that's not a trigger anymore. The less we have as triggers, the much easier life is going to be. However, when you do start to feel yourself get triggered or think that you're going to go that way, then that's the second step in being mindful and super self-aware of how you're reacting to that, and examining that, and maybe saying to yourself, exerting this out in anger is not as what for my greater good. I need to find a way to exert this in a more articulate way. I need to explain myself. I need to express myself. I need to talk this out. I need to, whatever that looks like, right? Because when we begin to be mindful and we set the intention that things are going to go smoother, we're going to get through a situation, we're going to communicate with somebody, it's all going to work out like it's supposed to. That's how things will go. Now, let me use a perfect example. And I know I've used this example in past discussions. When my husband and I were separating, there was lots of times where I would get text messages or phone calls, and they were very aggressive. Very aggressive. And it would affect me. And I had to learn that I needed to, as soon as it went that way, I needed to shut it down. Pull myself away. Move the energy from my space, right? From myself. And just leave it in love and light. Give grace. Leave it in love and light. And just allow whatever he was going through, he was going to have to go through it on his own. Because I was no longer available for that. And so then, it would come back around where, then he would apologize. And I would say to him, I'm not going to entertain that kind of energy with you. So every time that you start to go that way, I'm out. I'm going to pull back, and I'm going to give you grace to be who you are and do whatever it is that you do, because I'm not going to judge on you. I'm just not going to sit in that space with you. Which is absolutely, we have every right to do that. We have every right to pull back and say, no, stop the ride. I'm getting off here. You can continue on without me. But I would think in my head, geez, when is the next shoe going to drop? Right? And I was putting out there, even though I thought, I was being so mindful of myself. I was pulling myself back. I was giving you grace. I was detaching with love and light. But I was thinking and speaking that, well, gee, I wonder when that's going to happen again. Puts darkness out there, right? And being mindful about yourself is also, it's all tied in together. Your thought process, the words that you speak, the energy that you carry in your body. All of it is part of that process, right? And I started to realize that if I had a different intention and was mindful of the way I was thinking and speaking, that I could shift the situation. ties into manifesting, right? And sure enough, sure as shit, almost immediately, it changed. And now, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be perfect every time, right? Because we do have the freedom of choice. Other people are going to choose whatever they're going to choose, right? The only thing that you can do is be mindful and responsible for yourself, what you put out and how you process something, what your intentions are, the path that you walk in life. Whether you want it to be light or you want it to be dark or whatever. So things began to change and shift. And I realized at that time, and no, it wasn't perfect. There were times that there was still reaction. There was still, it was much less than it was. The other thing too is the other person will begin to realize that you're just not gonna entertain it, right? And when you no longer entertain it and you back off, they do begin to get a clue of, geez, every time I react like this or every time I do this, this is what happens, as they go back to the old adage, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. And some people, it takes them a long time to get it. Don't get me wrong. And they'll do the same thing over and over and over, infinite number of times. However, when you're part of the equation and you pull yourself back and you no longer entertain or engage, they eventually have no choice but to be like, well, shit, I got to come up with a different game plan because this one isn't working. So I would say being mindful. When you wake up in the morning, do a short meditation on being mindful and set your intention, right? Even if it's as soon as you sit up in bed, you sit there on the side of the bed, you put your feet on the floor, give gratitude for the fact that you're here for another day, right? And then set your intention and say, I want to be, or not I want to be, I'm going to be as mindful as I can be. And sit with that for a moment. Take a few deep breaths, right? And maybe even not there, maybe go in the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror and use it as an affirmation. I am mindful. I am mindful. I am mindful. And when you put those seeds in your own mind, you will be amazed at how you will begin to shift. Just on the smallest little thing, just trying to change yourself and your lens so you come more into an understanding of everything around you, what you give, what your part is. Another thing that you can do is, not just short meditations, you can do long meditations, on mindfulness. Maybe the next thing I'll do is I'll do a guided meditation on mindfulness, and you can come back here to my channel and listen to that, and maybe that'll help you. You can journal about being mindful. What does mindful mean to you? What does it mean to you, for starters? And everybody, it's going to be a little bit different, right? Or even connecting to, if you're far enough in your journey and you feel comfortable to speak to your guides and connect to your guides, or Or if you don't even look at it that way and you just like to pray, show me how I can be more mindful. And the next thing, when you ask, right, when you meditate or you speak on or you ask, then when you're in a situation, and maybe it won't happen right away, because when we get, right, reactive, or we get upset, or something is going on, or we think in our mind even, well, I'm going to tell that person, I'm going to say, if you can at that point grab yourself and be like, whoa, whoa, wait a second, and look at the situation, look at yourself, look at why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, really look at, if you do this or you react this way, or where is that going to bring you? Some people say, well, it makes me feel better. Does it really? I mean, really. And I know that it doesn't, because I've been there. You sit back and you think, yeah, I'm going to get this person. Now, if you have no emotion, you have no heart, and you just don't care, well, then maybe doing it that way works for you. And okay, more power to you. I say live and let live. I'll let you go in grace, and detach from that in love and light. However, we being human beings, when we do things like that, it doesn't make us feel better. It might for a moment. I'm going to tell you though, if you pay attention to the backlash from those types of things, and the karma, which is another topic, another thing I would like to discuss is karma. I'll eventually have a discussion on that. The karma, what you give to the universe, is what you get back, but you get it back exponentially. So when you give love and kindness, and you do things in as loving of a nature as you can, what you receive back tenfold is that same thing, right? When you give in anger, and you do things facetiously, or selfishly, or in anger, in aggression, in revenge, that will come back on you. See, we're not the givers of karma. The universe is, right? So when somebody does something to you, it's not your job to one-up them, or to hurt them back, or to get them back. None of that is your job. The universe takes care of that on its own. So we're definitely not the deliverers of karma either, right? And nothing that we do or say is going to give them the punishment that they need for what they've done, like the universe can. And the other thing too about it is that when you try to step forward, getting this message right now, it's really interesting. When you step forward and you dole out karma, or you think you're doling out karma, you have now just taken away part of what the universe was going to deliver. And that's a bit of your punishment, right? Because you stepped in where you had no business stepping in. You stepped into a situation that was not yours. We'll put it this way. Okay, so you're the parent of a child, right? And you see that your child has done something, and maybe another parent has seen it too. And this other parent steps in and begins to parent your child right in front of you, right? And you're like, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second, this is my kid. But that parent is overstepping that line and doing that, right? And then you're like, wait, and you say, this is my child, I'll take care of this situation. And maybe then that parent walks away. Maybe they have some choice words, whatever, right? And you pull your kid over and you say, what were you doing? You shouldn't have been doing that. Do you punish them again? Do you rip them up again? Do you tear into them again? I don't. You just took my authority and my opportunity to parent my child away from me, and I'm not going to double punish them. I'm not going to double tongue lash them. I'm not going to, I mean, I might say to them, you understand now, right? Why that was inappropriate or whatever. And you might have a conversation with them on it. But you're not going to. It's just like, it's double jeopardy, right? Even our justice system knows that, as screwed up as it is. You know, you can't double punish somebody for something. And so if you want karma to do its job, you have to back off and allow that to happen, because it will happen. It will happen. Maybe you won't understand it. Maybe you won't even get to see it, right? But I will tell you one thing. The universe will work itself out. That's the book. There's a book called The Secret. And that's what it talks about. It talks about the law of attraction. Everything that you give, you get back exponentially. So if you give kindness and love, and you're giving, and you're not self-centered, and you're not all about me, the universe will bring that back to you. So being mindful, coming back to that, is about at the moment too, you know, setting yourself up to be a mindful person, but also in the moment being able to notice when you need to be mindful. So I don't know if this resonated with anyone today, and if it did, I'm glad. Click subscribe below and like on my videos, the ones that you like. The ones that get more likes, I understand that's more towards, more what I need to gear towards creating on the content. I want you as my viewer to be happy with what you're viewing. That's the only way I can keep viewers, right? Is if you're satisfied with what you're viewing and you're getting something from that. So, like I said, click subscribe below, like on my videos. You can leave comments here if you want to get a hold of me, if you're interested in anything that I do, or you want to ask questions about what I do. I also have a Facebook page. Facebook page is also The Easing Spirit. That's my business page. So I thank everybody who joined today on this talk, and hopefully you got something from it. And as I always say, live each day in love and light. And namaste. Bye.